Hello, everybody. Welcome into my latest live broadcast. Today it is Thursday, the 29th of June, 2023. We are at the end of June already. How did that happen so quickly? I guess that's what happens when you keep busy. Life is not boring when you can't catch a breath and realize that an entire month has gone by in what feels like a week. Maybe that's good. Maybe that means the end of summer will be here soon. Summer just started. Yeah, I know, but oh, I'm so depressed. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my YouTube earnings, right? The other day I said, on average, YouTube videos make 0.018 of a penny per view. And it used to be about 0.25, about a quarter of a penny. And then it went to like under a fifth. Well, the information I read was apparently old. I looked at my current earnings, and YouTube is currently paying me, and this is going to tell you how much you're worth to YouTube or to a content creator. Unless you're a premium subscriber or a member, your view is worth to me, are you sitting down? 0.013 of a penny. So all those rich YouTube people like me, we are earning $13, little over $13 for every 1,000 views we get. Now, that's not, every video doesn't make the same amount of money. Financial videos, investment videos tend to make more money because that's obvious to advertisers. Somebody's got a bunch of money that they're looking to invest. So they're going to spend more on the advertising. So that video's value is up based on its content. But it's not my imagination. It was like 0.026, and now it's exactly 50% of where it was. I currently make, just in case you're curious, 50% of what I was making 2 years ago with over 100,000 more subscribers and over 500 more videos. I couldn't even keep level. With all that extra work and all that added value, all it did was sink by 50%, exactly half. And that's why I turned on memberships, and my thanks to everybody who signed up for memberships to help close the gap. It hasn't, but it's helped, and that helps me to be able to afford to pay for this content. I may start adding a new thing to the channel that will tell you how much money it costs to make the video. Then you can see by the number of views how much money that video earns. So today's video, for example, we've got a unit here that's like $300. This video will need how many views just for me to break even for the expense of this? So I did buy this today, just so you know. And thanks to your contributions and your memberships, it's been made possible. And speaking of which, I want to shout out a thank you for everybody who has contributed even before the show began. You guys are amazing and awesome. And let's see, LRCX kicked us off with a $10 contribution. He's getting one of those Boss game machines. He said, this is going to be a fun day. I'm expecting delivery of my Boss Game Mini sometime during the stream today. He got himself a Samsung 1000R curved monitor and a Logitech MK550 combo keyboard mouse in preparation of receiving his new Mini PC. Hope you enjoy it, Larry. It's a nice machine. Paul O'Brien contributes €5. He says, I canceled the Kadairs case and bought the NZXT 9H. Instead, it's a much better case. Thanks again for everything. Smartest move you made. Yeah, good move. You will not regret it. Peter Laycock with 10 pounds. Thank you, Buster. He says, good evening, Carrie and Marlena and everyone in the chat. All the best from Bonnie, Scotland, where the temperature in Edinburgh is 63 degrees Fahrenheit. 63. Holy cow. We're going to hit 117 by Monday. 63 degrees Fahrenheit is 17 degrees Celsius. Always good to see our good friend Buster. Steve H contributes $10, and Steve says, these mini PCs are getting more powerful every year. The question is, how long will they last quality-wise? PCs aren't made any differently than any other PC. So they go through the same factories and the same robotics using the same components. Everything's exactly the same. So technology is getting more reliable, not less reliable. I would anticipate these PCs will outlast their useful nature. You'll probably be left with a computer after a number of years that just doesn't have the oomph to keep up with the changing software demands long before you have a machine that's broken. there will always be broken machines, and they're not very repairable. But percentage-wise, I would anticipate that the quality control rate and reliability rate is about 80% better than it was in the 90s. So it's only getting better. We're using fewer components. We're doing surface mounting. Robotics always put them together the same way. And whether you're buying an $800 motherboard for a big Threadripper build, or you're buying one of these mini PCs, they're all being built using the exact same modules and components that go onto the board. They're all the same. So there's no reason to believe that a higher end board would last any longer when it's using all the same components, built by the same factories, using the same robotics. There's no longer as much human intervention. Robots don't have bad days. They don't need time off. They don't have a bad attitude. They can work 24/7, and everything they do is exactly precise, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's no espionage or sabotage to the company because they're pissed off. There's no mistakes because they weren't paying attention. There are mistakes from people loading the machines backwards, but when it's all working right, they should even be able to catch that and kick it out through automated quality control. It's outstanding. If you've not dealt with modern electronics in the year 2023, if you're somebody who's been around since the 70s and 80s and 90s and you're used to the, well, quite frankly, the insecurity of having something that you can count on, it's very different today. This is 2023. And these are machines made today. So I suspect the machines will probably last 40, 50, even upwards of 90 years. But I can't imagine anybody would ever want to use it beyond certainly no more than 10 years. And there will be exceptions, of course. There will be a couple machines that fail. Sometimes machines don't fail for their own fault. Sometimes machines are mishandled during delivery and shipment. Other times you get power spikes you may not even be aware you had that can damage the equipment. And then, not much you can do about it. So, but that's the exception. But yeah, thank you for the contribution and your question. Sarge Tech contributes $5. He says, respect as always. Hey, respect given is respect returned. Thank you. John Shinsky has become a new member. Hey, John, thank you for contributing to the channel and becoming a member of our tech club. Every Monday, I do videos for members only. They are never, ever, ever made public. And as a member, you can go back and watch the previous Monday shows. They're very informal, just a little friendly hangout. No more than about 40 people usually in the chat room. And we all get to talk in a more personal level, like we're hanging out in a bar together versus let me put on my top hat and cane and dance for you like a monkey. That's what I do now. That's what the public shows are. Dance, monkey, dance. I had a very generous Zelle contribution come in from Frankie B. Frankie, you're amazing. Thank you so much for your generosity and your support. Not even just now, but just overall. In fact, if you see any of these mini PCs you want, Frankie, you've more than paid for it. You just tell me and I'll send it your way. What a generous individual. If you see Frankie in the chat room, send him some love, my friend. And another generous individual in the chat room, Oystein, who joins us all the way from Norway. And, Buster joins us all the way from Scotland. So these are amazing individuals that have been extraordinarily generous and have helped to keep the content flowing here on the channel. All right, so let me just take a look here at, make an adjustment. What are we looking at today? Okay, so I reached out to Trigkey. They didn't respond, so I just bought their stuff. The other day I was asking, geez, this Trigkey unit, it looked a lot like the B-Link unit. And then somebody in the chat, and I apologize, I can't remember who it was, but said, oh, that's made by this. They did the research. Somebody else is clearly making these machines, and people are just branding them. Something called AZW or something, which is a manufacturer of mini computers. They started their company about 10 years ago. And AZW created their own brand called B-Link. So remember I said B-Link's not the maker, they're just putting their name on it. No, B-Link is actually AZW. It's just a brand name for AZW. Is it AZW? It's something like, you can Google all this. All the information's there. They talk all about it. And apparently Trigkey, apparently they're making white box so that manufacturers can order from them and brand it with their own colors and their own box and their own support and maybe even individual features. Like, in the case of the Trigkey yesterday, it allowed for a 2.5-inch SATA drive, even though I think it was a bad idea. You could do it. But regardless of that, pretty interesting the marketplace is. And again, you can Google it if you want to learn more about it, but it's times they are a-changing. That's all I can tell you. So despite ordering that other Trigkey, why did I get that Trigkey? I got it because it was recommended to me. And I thought, okay, I'm going to check it out and see if I agree with that. It's AZW Technology, Shane Perkins. Thank you for the correction, Shane. How come Shane's not blue? Let's make sure Shane is blue in here. Fix that little oversight. Okay, so where was I? Well, I was looking at that particular recommended unit. I looked at what else Trigkey was offering. And I saw a unit that looked like a pretty good deal. Let me put it up on the screen and I'll explain my reasoning here. I'm going to take you over to their Amazon page so you can look at exactly what I'm looking at. So yesterday we were looking at that laptop, right? That N95 laptop from Ace Magic, which is Ace Magician. Don't know who their parent company is, but at least we figured B-Link out. Where's my screen? There it is. Does that work? That works. So this laptop yesterday, the N95, was $309. And by pure coincidence, this is also $309, but you're not getting an N95 CPU. You're getting something much, much more powerful than that. Of course, N95 is 12th gen, but it's the bottom of the barrel 12th gen. This Trigkey is a Core i5 11th gen. So this will crank up to 4.5 gigahertz. It's got 16 gigs of DDR4, which is what that laptop had yesterday. But this is going to be dual channel and more upgradable. This has a 500 gig NVMe. The laptop yesterday was SATA. So this is faster, and you're going to want faster because you've got a more capable processor anyway. No matter how much you would upgrade that laptop from yesterday's video, you still at the heart of it have an N95 processor, and that will forever always be your limit. So what's the point of overflowing the edges and surroundings of the CPU when you can't make the CPU any better? It's just throwing good money after bad, in my opinion. With this is more of a business replacement type desktop. This is something you could put in an office based on the specifications, everything I'm looking at. This would easily replace most workstations in most offices and would be an ideal replacement for most customers who can afford a little bit more than the bottom of the barrel. And you're going to get a very capable computer that's probably going to last you, you got to get 8 years out of this, I bet you. It depends on how you use it and if your needs change, but for pretty much doing everything but gaming on this thing, and when I say gaming, I'm talking about like graphical games. I'm not talking about solitaire. You could play solitaire till the cows come home. You could play poker. But when you want to play first-person games, it'll play some of them, but that's not what this is for. This is not designed for that. So it'll support 4K at 60. So it's got dual HDMI out, Wi-Fi 6, which is good, and Windows 11. $309. It's a Core i5 11320H. That's a pretty good little monster of a processor. And when you look at its specifications, you don't have to go back too far to see that it meets or exceeds the Core i7s of just a couple of years ago. Now you're getting, well, let me put it to you this way. You can buy a modern day 13th gen processor and you'd be hard pressed to get one under that price. And that's without the motherboard, the RAM, the CPU, the operating system, the case, the power supply, the storage. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's a really, really good deal. So I said, okay, let me buy this one and check it out. But now that I'm looking at the picture, it sure does look a lot like a B-Link. But I think this is just a B-Link. The B-Link charges more money. Well, look, if you're buying something from another manufacturer, I want you to think about this logically. Let's say you're Trigkey and you don't make your stuff. You're going to go to somebody else who makes it. Say, I'm going to order a bunch of this. What price can you get me? And you need to customize it so And both companies would agree, we don't want your product to look too much like our product. We don't want to confuse our customers. Okay, so you, at the end of the day, basically have the exact same product made by the same company. Why should a customer choose yours? That's the question. And the simple answer is price. We'll charge less. So, are you getting better quality with Beelink? No, it's the exact same factory cranking out the exact same machines. Will you get a better warranty with Beelink? No, it's the same warranty. Will you get better support? Who's to say? They're different companies, they operate their support differently. I don't know the answer to that. Most people don't get support these days anyway. When's the last time you've called support? I know if you've ordered something online and you didn't get it, or you had a problem with your order, you talk to customer service. Sure, we talk to customer service, but how often do we ever talk to tech support outside of our own sort of internet service providers where, hey, why is my internet down? You don't talk to Microsoft, do you? You don't talk to Intel. You don't call with a question to Microsoft or Intel. I would be surprised if you did. So for the most part, support's kind of gone away. It's cost a lot of companies their businesses. Cost is expensive, and the end user is calling support and abusing it because they don't know how to do something. And instead of treating it for support that something's wrong, they're treating it like private tutoring and explaining to the customer how to use the equipment they bought. It's not what support is. So now support costs money. Support is a 45-minute or 2-hour hold time because they don't want you calling it. They're going to discourage it. And that's universal across the industry, with a few exceptions to companies that you pay a lot of money to who can afford to offer better support than that. So when we're looking at price, one of the ways they're going to save a lot of money is by limiting the type and availability of support. And these days, even when they do offer support, it's not that good to begin with. So as long as you're covered under warranty for any RMAs or things of that nature, that's all that I care about as a business owner. Also, you know, if they have a bad batch of machines or something and they hide it and they won't be, you know, transparent or forward about it, then I got a problem with it. But I understand the business model. How can we get these machines to be affordable for most individuals? And it means you as an individual are going to be willing to sacrifice some of the things the rich people get. The hand-holding and customer service and care, you pay for that. So if you want that, you pay for that. If you're not paying for that, but you expect it, you're an unreasonable person, and you will likely be very upset for the majority of your life until you change your attitude. I'm just telling you, I've seen it. You're not going to change anything by whining and complaining about it. You need to understand what you're buying, and you need to understand when something is a really low price, what's the catch here? So you do have a warranty. It seems like if I thought this machine was a piece of junk, I wouldn't have purchased it, okay? It seems like if Beelink is a little too rich for your blood, Trigkey can offer you pretty much an identical machine made by the same company, which is Beelink, and offer you a cheaper price. And you're probably not calling support from either one of them, because likely you're going to take it out of the box, you're going to hook it up, it's going to work, and that's going to be that. So unless you're somebody who actually breaks your own computer, you decide I'm going to install Linux, you decide I want to try and overclock it, you break it through your own destruction, man, that's on you. You know, if you're the kind of person to do that, I suggest you spend more money for machines that are more capable. If you're somebody who just needs a computer and you want a good value, you'll likely be very happy with something like this. I'm going to say probably this unit right here is a good example. And as long as you use it as intended and you don't abuse it and you don't mess about with it, trying to, I don't know, really alleviate your boredom, you'll likely have a machine that will outlive its usefulness. Easily 70 years out of these devices if they're taken care of, used the way they're intended. But if you're a tinkerer and you're an experimenter, I hope you're willing to gamble with $300, because if you break it, that's on you. You did it to yourself. If you experiment and you need to reinstall the operating system and you can't find the drivers, I'm sure that tech support can provide the drivers to you if you need them. However, it's just not as easy as if you're dealing with Asus or, you know, a company based here in North America. The processes and culture are different there. And, you know, they may just point you to a Google or a Microsoft OneDrive zip file that's 2.5 gigs of just a nonsense level of drivers well beyond what you asked for. And then you better save them. You better put them away somewhere, because if you're that kind of person, then you're the kind of person that's going to need them again and again and again. That's on you. Most average individuals buy computers. They never open them. They don't go into a BIOS. They don't know what a BIOS is. And most average individuals do not have problems with their computers where they need to reinstall the operating system or reinstall drivers, regardless if it's the Dell or if it's something they bought off AliExpress. Quite frankly, just most people don't do that. That's what hobbyists and enthusiasts do. And if you do that to yourself, you have yourself and not the company, but yourself to blame. Just telling you. And if you want that kind of handholding, you need to spend way more money to get that kind of white glove service, okay? Now, also, you'd have a machine that's worth even doing any of that waste of time, in my opinion, with, because these machines are really designed and engineered to do exactly the way they're sent to you. Nothing more, nothing less. And if you think otherwise, well, you will suffer the consequences or reap the rewards, but that's only on you. And as a computer technician running a business, I can't support people like that. It would put me out of business. So that's a perspective from a business owner, not a home user. All right, and so we're on the same page. I'm not grouchy and crotchety. I just hate seeing people self-inflict their own anxiety and frustrations when it was all avoided if you'd have just left it alone. A non-working computer does not perform better. Well, I was trying to make it go faster and then I broke it, so now I need support. Well, how fast is it now? All right, so let's take a look and see what it looks like. Let's see. Nick Poverman says, I do the DISM backup for every computer I set up. Yeah, you know, we talked about the DISM command in PowerShell, where you can back up all the drivers that come on the unit already. Just take a backup of those drivers. You won't need to ask the company for the drivers. But again, you shouldn't ever need to reinstall your operating system unless you've been poking around the registry, running system optimizers, you download a lot of risky stuff, you exercise risky behavior with the websites you visit and the way you use the internet. You're downloading pirated movies, pirated software. Yeah, you're playing with fire, and if you're going to get burned, you know, you did it to yourself. Most people, as I mentioned, would never need to do that, honestly. You're going to turn this thing on, you're going to use it the way it's intended, and at some point it's just going to get too slow or just lack enough capability or resources to really, you know, be livable, and you're going to want to replace it with something modern. And maybe you'll pass it down, or maybe then you start to experiment. Maybe you go, okay, now that it's lived its life, maybe now's a good time to play with Linux and see if I can figure it all out and find drivers. Your warranty's long gone. Support's never going to help you. It's all said and done. It was bought years ago. Maybe you pass it down to a child, or maybe you use it as a Raspberry Pi project box that, you know, you don't have so much writing on. But if it's something you count on and it's the best you can afford, if you want to have a good experience, leave it alone. Put the software on from reputable manufacturers that you paid for. Avoid free software whenever possible, and don't put on too much software. Don't be so ADHD that you've got 1,000 applications installed. Otherwise, you really need about a $1,500 computer, $1,200 computer. These are not designed for that kind of use case scenarios, and you will likely have problems with any computer under at least under $500 to use it in that way. It's like buying a regular sedan and you want to off-road with it. If you're going to break that car, it's not designed for that kind of use. You need to spend more money on a four-wheel drive that gets worse gas mileage and costs more to insure if that's how you want to use it. Otherwise, you might find your experience is less than desirable and doesn't match the rave reviews everybody else is leaving. You go, I don't understand why my experience was so different than everybody else. Well, because nobody else is taking their Buick LeSabre out to the desert doing the Rubicon Trail. But you know, there's someone out there that did. Is that you? I hope not. I don't want to be your mechanic, I'll tell you that. You're going to pay me a lot of money to fix the damage you caused. It's not warranty work. You're going to pay me a lot of money. You'll wish you'd bought a four-wheel drive, because then looking back on it, it'd be way more convenient and way cheaper. All right, that's all the point I'm trying to make. I just want you to be happy. I want you to understand what your expectations should be. And this is based on the specs I'm seeing, looks like an awesome specification for most average people, including most average office workers, most average home users. And it's not that much more money than a budget N95 system. Maybe it's $100 more, but you're getting a lot for that $100. Let's take a look. Okay, so much like the Trigkey we looked at the other day, it's packaged in a very similar fashion. And again, we've seen this before with B-Link. Boy, this is packaged exactly the same way as the other Trigkey that was, less equipped. It looks okay. So on the outside, it's identical, but on the inside, it's where it matters, and that's where that's what we're paying for. So we're paying for the inside. We walk this up to the camera, and let's see how this is equipped. So we've got two USB A, USB 3 Type A ports. We've got a USB Type C. We've got a headset jack, which is for either headphones or microphone, or a headset, which has both. And then power button, red power button. There's the top, says Trigkey. It's Intel, so you don't have to deal with AMD's wonky drivers and having incompatibilities and not knowing when new drivers are out. So I'm all Intel all day because I don't deal with that nonsense. Look, you choose sides, okay? I'm just in the side of staying in business. Here on the back, we've got our Ethernet, which I don't know what that is yet. We'll take a look. Two what appears to be USB 2s. Two HDMIs. You can use those simultaneously for 4K out to two monitors at the same time. And a barrel plug power adapter. These are our vents for airflow. And on the bottom, same as the other Trigkey. Exactly the same. 4 screws, remove the bottom. Looks like you can add a 2.5-inch drive to an area that has no airflow. Wouldn't recommend it, but apparently that's something Trigkey is doing to add value to their brand over B-Link, the AZW, whatever they're called. Right? It's just a value perception, perceived value. Okay, in the box, what do we have? Got that spare cable because the cable can break. That's the cable that runs to the SATA drive inside that you can add if you want to, that I don't recommend that you do. You can. I don't recommend it. And when you break the cable, they give you a spare one. But when you break this one, you're out of luck. Why do they give you the spare one? Because it's so common that breaks, they give you a spare one. But if it's so common that it breaks, how come they don't give you a spare dozen? You can only break it once. That's the rules. We've got our HDMI cable. We've got, a Mickey Mouse power cable. Let's get that out of here. If Nick Powerman says, Kerry, if you get the B-Link equivalent to this, it has the same, it has the 2.5-inch drive option. I don't recall ever seeing a B-Link do that. So maybe I just never had that model, or maybe I just don't remember because I see so many computers all the time, getting into specifics like that. But good to know, good to know. Certainly wasn't the case with the other one, and I'm just assuming this is more of the same, but you know what they say about assuming. This is a VESA bracket to mount this. You could mount this behind your monitor or hang it on a wall side of a desk. Get it off your desk if you want to. This is our power adapter. Boy, this looks exactly like the other Trigkey in almost every way. We've got a short HDMI cable, so if you were to put this behind your monitor, you wouldn't want this 6-foot long or 5-foot long cable, right? You only need to go this far. So that's what that's for. And then we've got some screws, and that's for mounting the VESA bracket and for mounting a 2.5-inch drive and securing it, which again, I do not recommend because of heat. Now, if you're an average user and you barely use the computer and you just want a little more storage, you can certainly use it, but do bear in mind that you are adding an additional heat source and you're drawing more power from the power supply. So you are going to generate more heat regardless, but if you're a heavy user, this machine was not ideal for your use. You should be buying something more robust for your needs if you want to have a satisfactory experience. If you run these like that, don't expect them to last very long. Once you overheat them and damage the internal components, they are not repairable. So if you do that to yourself, once again, you're taking your Buick LeSabre out four-wheeling, you're probably not going to have a Buick LeSabre very long. And that's not because the Buick was poorly made. It's because you did not use it as it was intended to be used. So yes, they do provide a 2.5-inch SATA, so you should be able to use one. And you can, but within reason. If you're using a lot of I/O in that 2.5 inch and it generates a lot of heat, there's nowhere for the heat to go. You're also generating heat from the RAM and from your NVMe storage. There's nowhere for that heat to go. And if you just keep doing it and building the heat, and building the heat, and building the heat, and building the heat with no consideration for cooling, that's on you. You needed a better equipped machine for that kind of use case. So if it fails because of a heat-related problem, because you added that drive and used the crap out of it, you shouldn't have bought a level of machine like this. That's not a fault of the machine. That's a fault of the user abusing it. Now, let's get it plugged in, hooked up, and see what it's like. Move that all over here and over there like that. Get the mouse over here. And we'll plug in the USB. I'll just use a USB 2.0 here back. Since USB 3.0 isn't going to help me type faster, we'll save those USB 3.0s for, things that would actually benefit from having it. Now we are plugged in with power. I don't want to plug the internet into it on first boot up because we're going to go through the Windows 11 setup. And if you have an internet connection, it's going to really force me to create a Microsoft Online account. Since this isn't well, it's mine, but I'm not keeping it. I just create offline accounts. And if the person who ends up getting this computer or purchasing it or whatever they're going to do wants to put a Microsoft account on it, well, you don't have to reinstall Windows or anything. You just set up a new user profile. It's not a big deal. But I'm not putting my user profile on there and having my information going off to some rando. You know what I mean? That's, first of all, unprofessional. Okay, so I think we're hooked up and ready to rock and roll. Let me turn the HDMI input on. Where are you, HDMI? There you are. And yeah, we could put myself up here in the corner. That's where I belong anyway. Get in the corner where you belong, Carrie. All right, turn this around, hit the power button. We do have a little LED that lights up here on the power button. No hard drive activity light, but that's getting more and more common, unfortunately. And users don't even pay attention, so it doesn't matter. Okay, let's see where we're at here on our boot up process. Now, aside from running DISM to back up the drivers, you could use a program like Acronis to image the machine, and you'd never have to reinstall ever again. You just restore your image. You'd be right back to where you are. Now, Trigkey. Oh, I see. I've already fired this up. That's why I'm confused. I fired this up yesterday, I think, and I went through the entire Windows setup process, as well as ran Uncle Carrie's Windows 10 optimization tool. Oh, it's all coming back to me now. If you had any idea how many machines I worked on yesterday, you'd drop your jaw. So I'm getting a little confused, remembering which thing I did to which thing. Being 55 years old isn't helping that memory. But yeah, I can see the fact that Uncle Carrie's Windows 10 Optimizer is on here. It's been run because this PC icon is there. And I ran Crystal Disk Info to get numbers on the storage. Nothing's been replaced. These are the numbers that come with the unit. I have not replaced the storage in any way. I've not improved it or upgraded it. This is what you get for your money, which is pretty darn good, if you ask me. Certainly way better than what we saw in yesterday's laptop for the same price. Of course, you're not getting a screen, a battery, a keyboard, a mouse, speakers, webcam. You're not getting any of that. And I think it has better Wi-Fi too, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to get to a higher resolution over here because my screen is all blurry. Ah, now I'm in 1080 and it looks fantastic here. Tablet. Okay, so let's see. Oh, Bill Wickens joins us. Welcome in, Bill. Good to see you, my friend. Jim KJ3N says, if you have memory problems now, you haven't seen anything when you get older. Well, maybe I won't get older, huh? I'll win that game. All right, so the SSD, slow write speeds, but respectable read speeds, and most people are mostly reading. Now, I've got VLC on here. It looks like I went through all the Windows update process, so I can plug this into the internet now. I don't have to worry about being cautious about that. because we're already past all that and saves us a lot of time. Let's take a look at what hardware we've got in here. So when I plug that in, we'll go to the device manager and we'll take a look at some of the specifications in here. Oh, what's the security center complaining about? No action need. Oh, it's this. Turn this on. I don't know why that turns off. All right. See how responsive it is? Click, click. As soon as I click, boom, click, boom, it's there. So if we look at, our display adapter is a built-in integrated graphics on the Intel CPU. It's Intel Iris Xe built-in graphics. And we do have a TPM module in here. So we are, in fact, Windows 11 compliant, no doubt about that. The network adapter, who makes that? Is that Realtek? Is it Intel? It's a Realtek gigabit Ethernet adapter, and it's an Intel Wi-Fi 6 adapter for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Both are Intel. Awesome. That's good. I mean, I would prefer Intel on the LAN, but most people are going to run these wirelessly anyway. So, yeah, they'll be on the wireless LAN. What else can I look at while I'm in here? The CPU, we can verify it is what they claimed it is by going down here to processors. And you'll see how many cores we got going on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's exactly what the manufacturer said. Isn't it funny how when you do the review, it matches everything the manufacturer said? I don't know why people do reviews. Why am I doing them? Sometimes reviews can be helpful in ways, but it depends what we're reviewing. For most of the time, though, you're just going to see exactly what the manufacturer said. You're not going to see anything any better than that. And every once in a while, we find a manufacturer that exaggerates or flat out lies. But we don't see that very often today. They don't tend to stick around very long in today's world. Social media gets the word out pretty quick and can shut them down pretty quick. But there are exceptions. Scott says hello. Welcome in, Scott. Chris Johnson, Paul O'Brien, of course. Rick Lakes, our friend Rick Lakes joining us. Richard Palmentier says hello. Richard says, I'm having an issue. I did a backup using file history in Windows 10 Pro. I don't know what that is. And I tried to restore the backup. The file is a .pbd file, and I couldn't get the backup to work. Any ideas? I don't know what a file history backup is in Windows. I've never promoted it. I've never suggested it to anybody. But if anybody in the chat room can help Richard and you're familiar with whatever he's talking about, he's talking Greek to me. I have no idea what he's talking about. I do wish people would follow my advice on how to make backups and follow my instruction, because then they wouldn't come in here in a quandary. They would follow the advice and they would get exactly what I show on camera, exactly, if they follow it exactly. When you go out on your own and you decide that you want to do things your way and you create a hole for yourself, well, I mean, this comes with that. You know what I mean? So I don't want to discourage people being curious, but if something is as important as your data, I wouldn't joke around with that. And I would buy a product. I would not use anything free to back up my data unless my data is worth nothing. So, but yeah, if you can help Richard Palmentier, if you're familiar with whatever that is he's talking about, please do. I'm sure he would appreciate it. Lou Greenia says, Kerry, I'm still really impressed and pleased with the Ace Magician CK10 with the Intel i7. Now, I agree when you say buy with the proper expectations, and you should be happy. Yes, absolutely. I don't think it's the manufacturer improperly setting the expectations. I think it's the client being very greedy and thinking they're going to get more than what they're actually paying for, and then ultimately setting themselves for their own disappointment and failure when they realize everything in their imagination has no factual basis upon which to justify it. So they only have themselves to blame for it. So I want to bring people back down to earth, and I want people to be happy. I don't want people to feel ripped off or have buyer's remorse. I want you to understand what you're buying and understand why it costs what it costs. I've got a machine that's $3,000. Freddy's Revenge was over $5,000. The The Big Beast build was over $10,000. You probably don't need a machine like that. Doesn't mean you don't want one. But I guarantee you, it was priced exactly what it was worth in every case. Alan Ronald contributes 20 Australian dollars. Hey, Alan, thank you so much for supporting the channel. I'm going to see what's beeping my phone here. It looks like maybe there's some motion around the house. Yes, there is. Oh, an Amazon gift card comes in from our good friend, Peter Laycock. Oh, no, extraordinarily generous Amazon gift card. Holy cow. Peter, you've been so generous almost every day. Oh my gosh. I'm speechless. Barry Klein says, here's a gift card for 2,000 views. It'll account for 2,000 views, $36. 2,000 views would be $26. I think you did the math wrong. Wait, I'll keep my mouth shut. You gave me 10 extra bucks. About $13 per thousand. Little over $13 and change. So we'll call it 27 just to round it up, even if it's probably should be rounded down. That's YouTube, right? No one's forcing me to make the videos. Yeah, let me clear my camera alert. You know what? Let me check it just to make sure I don't. Oh, it was a bird. Okay, bird set off the motion detector. Always with the birds. Buster, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I think I'm going to save that for Amazon Prime Day, which I think is the 11th and 12th of July. Might be some really good deals. Richard says this came with the OS in Windows. Yes, you got the absolute bare minimum included in Windows. And is that what your backup is worth? I'm just asking, is your backup worth just the bare minimum? Or does your backup hold any value to you? If you spent $0 on your backup, then you're telling me your data is worth $0. The little freebie stuff that Microsoft includes in Windows is the very basics. Notepad is not Word. WordPad is not Word, nor is it Excel. You're going to pay for exactly what you're going to get. And if something is important to you, like your PC security, your identity, using the free Windows Defender, well, it's good. It's not enough in my professional opinion. And if your data is priceless to you, spending a few dollars on something like Acronis or literally any backup program that's not free will give you some peace of mind that you have a support number to call. When you use something free or included with the OS, you are using the bare minimum, and it suggests to me by your actions that your value of your data is zero. You don't care. It's like, well, if it's there, I'm happy, and if it's not there, I'm fine. But if you're upset or in distress when your backup doesn't work or your data can't be restored, that's you should have bought a professional piece of backup software. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It can be as little as $20. So it's preposterous that you would treat something that you think presumably so valuable and you won't spend a nickel to preserve it. That's how I see it as a professional. And here you are. So let this situation sink in and why I'm telling you what I'm telling you. I don't want you in this situation, and you could have avoided it. Now, I'm not saying there's no way out. I just don't know the way out, but maybe somebody in the chat room can. I don't know. That's what you get for free. You just have to figure it all out. So it's anything included with Windows is bare minimum. It's just their bare minimum. That's all it is. It's not meant to replace a full feature set piece of software that's designed for, accounting or payroll, writing a novel. I mean, you could do it, but it'd be way harder. It's sort of a novelties. No novelty items included in Windows. If you're serious about it, though, don't use novelty items if you're serious. For this very reason, I don't want to see you back in this situation again. And if you had paid for a product, you'd be on the phone right now and likely wouldn't even need to be on the phone. The product would just work. But you got nobody to call. That's what you get for free. So, but I hope you can find a solution for it. And I hope you'll reconsider in the future how you want to insure your data and what it's worth to you, because I hate that. That is a support call that should never have to come in. So there's a reason why I've never demonstrated that on this channel, and I cannot emphasize that. I have discussed backups till I'm blue in the face, and I've shown at least a half dozen different pieces of backup software that I recommend using, and none of them are what you did. So I'm not surprised you didn't get a good result. I wish you would have followed my advice. But I hope you're able to figure that out, because it's data loss is it's heartbreaking, heart-wrenching. Sarge Tech says the Intel i5 11320H CPU recommended price is $340 for the CPU. He says that's what Intel says MSRP is, and you're getting the whole computer. You're getting a motherboard, a cooler, storage, an operating system that Microsoft will sell you for $199.99, all built into the price. You're getting a power supply, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, $309. It's a lot. Chris Johnson is asking about PDB files are related to Visual Studio. I thought PDB files were, so in backup software, some little company that I think uses PDB files, they give away a lot of free software. Is it EaseUS? EaseUS? I think EaseUS backup software uses. I've never really seen it, but I'm trying to remember. I've heard about it, but I've never seen it in use in the wild. But I wouldn't rely on any, even EaseUS, unless I paid for it or something that important. Richard says, Carrie, I understand what you're saying. Well, thank you, Richard. I don't want you to feel like I'm picking on you or beating you up or saying I told you so. I'm angry because I want to help you, and you've made it impossible for me to help you. And if you would have just did what I said, we wouldn't, neither one of us would be in this. I wouldn't feel so horrible for you and so helpless. I'm like watching somebody drown and I can't reach out and save them. It's a sinking feeling in my heart. I hate the way it feels. Chris Johnson says, are you by chance using EaseUS for your backups? And see, it wasn't just me. John, Science Rocks, contributes $1.99. He says, good advice, Carrie. Hey, thank you, John. Davis Parsons said you can get a Cronus and do regular backups, get Malwarebytes paid for antivirus. Well, that's not for antivirus protection. It's for anti-malware protection. Windows Defender does a great job at antivirus, but viruses aren't the threat they used to be. It's mostly malware now. Windows Defender is not so good at malware detection as Malwarebytes. So I use a Malwarebytes paid version combined with the free Windows Defender and the free Windows Firewall that secures us with the router. We don't use Microsoft accounts, and we make regular backups of important data using paid software for which we have a support number we can call if things go sideways. To do backup comes up for PBD files. That's easiest to do, yeah. William Lynn says, Carrie, tell him to look for restore with file history in Windows Search, and you restore files with file history Windows 11 or Windows 10. I don't know what any of that means, but maybe, Richard, that can help you. When you're all said and done with this little experience, Richard, maybe you can come back in hindsight and give us an overall overview of what you would recommend to others, regardless of how this works out. Larry G contributes $10. Oh, Larry's been a member for 12 months. Right on. Thank you, Larry. He says, I'm sorry I'm late again. Hello, Carrie. Hello to all the great people in the chat. Hello to Camera Girl if you're there. She's not here today. Carrie, you're the man. No, Michael Dane. He's the man. I'm the dude. I don't know what I am. Is EaseUS not preferable? Not if it's free. No. If you're paying for it, then it's fine. But not if it's free. You have to understand, I'm going to ask you, what's your data worth to you? If your data is worth something to you, then you need to pay for security to back it up. You need to pay for the insurance. Nobody's offering free insurance. Hello, can I get free insurance on my car? Can I get free health insurance? Well, you can get it included with your taxes in most industrial countries, but not here in the United States. So even then in those countries, it's still not free. It's sort of built into the tax system. Your backups of your data or not, regardless. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is you have to make up your mind how much your data is worth. And if your data is worth free, and when you lose it, oh well, that's what you get when you got it for free. So I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to, once again, we go back to realistic expectations. There's a reason why things cost money. Things that cost money are probably, in most cases, you're being charged for the continual development and updating and support that goes with the product. Do you want to develop a piece of software for free and then have people contact you and ask you how to use it and yell and scream at you when it doesn't work right? And you do all that in exchange for what? Let me know when you can start. It's a 24-hour-a-day job. Oh, and you'll have to pay out of pocket for your website, all the bandwidth it requires, and any marketing, lawyers, and development costs. In exchange, I'm going to give you nothing. When can you start? Because that's what you're asking for when you're asking for free. So that's the reality. Somebody's paying for it. And if it ain't you, then nobody's helping you. Nobody's going to help. Nobody at that company is going to take your call or answer your email. Like Gmail. If you're not paying for Gmail and your email doesn't work, too bad. There's nobody to contact. There is no support. And if all your email gets wiped out one day, there were no guarantees and you agreed to those terms of service, that's what you got. I love these people that are like, oh, they're spying on me. I don't like that they're spying on me. Nobody cares what you're doing, man. Nobody cares. It's automation that's spying on you, spying. And your phone knows way more about you than Windows ever will. But that's beside the point. If you want to go back and live in the 1850s, and you want to, nobody was spying on you in the 1800s. You want to go back and live like that. I mean, that's what you're promoting. You're saying, I don't want to evolve. I want to live the way people lived in the 1800s, because that's the way the world should be. But we're going to agree to disagree. So when you hear people talk about the spying and the, yeah, they just want to live in the 1800s is what they're saying. And yet in the meantime, while they're complaining, they're still using that very technology to complain about it with. You got to understand the hypocrisy and the insanity that somebody would use something they despise and then use that to explain how much they despise it. Their actions suggest they actually love it. So what they're saying and what they're doing aren't lining up. So I can't help but not take people like that at all seriously. Because what they want is they want to reverse evolve back to the 1800s and before, when we didn't have any of the spying and telemetry. Let's not evolve. Come on, who's with me? I love people. What else do we have here going on? Rick Lakes. Hey, there's our friend Rick joining us from Minnesota. He says hello and contributes $10 in Super Chat. Thank you, Rick. Dom Parada with $9.99 in Super Chat says, hey, I'm finally catching you live. A belated birthday gift to Carrie, and hello to Rick Lakes and the rest of the chat. Right on, Dom. Thank you so much. Gary says we're one solar flare away from being cavemen. Jim KJ3N has succinctly said, all of this spying is nothing more than companies and creating automated programs that just are trying to figure out how to sell you something. They don't care who you are or what you're doing. Nobody cares, I promise you. Unless you're doing something highly illegal or you're a public figure or politician and celebrity, you're not going to be on the news. You're not. Sorry. You're just not newsworthy. And you better be grateful for it, because that obscurity is your best security you could ever ask for. You're just another set of data running through the web that has no actual feelings for you or cares at all about you. It's just data. That's all it is. It's not judging you. Rick Lake says, Carrie and I feel the same way on this. Yeah, well, so you don't want to go back in time and live in the good old days? Let's go back further. Let's go back. Before women had rights, Let's go back further than that, because that's not even far enough away. Let's go back, when a man could be a man and a woman was a woman. You saw a woman you wanted, you went over there and banged her on the head with your club and dragged her by her hair back to your cave. Yeah, I'm old-fashioned that way. Ridiculous. I don't think you're going to find too many females agreeing with that perspective. That's purely, if it exists, an ignorant male attitude, which I hope doesn't exist, but I'm afraid there are people out there that probably believe those were the good old days, long before women had an attitude and an opinion, when they were seen and not heard. Those were the good old days. Well, from your perspective, in your level of education and empathy, yeah, I can see where you're coming from if I were in your shoes. Feel bad for people like that, really. They don't get it. They don't know what it's like to be anybody else but themselves, and they don't care. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Stop this evolution. Stop it. I don't like it. I like things the way they were. I prefer rubbing two sticks together to make a fire. Oh, look at what I did. I think that's the first time ever I've spilled a little bit of my drink. What is in this Gatorade? Gotta wonder. Just edit that out of this live video. Pardon me a second while I get a little paper towel. Got me all worked up. Back in the day, this wouldn't have been a problem because we didn't have plastic in the 1800s. Or Gatorade. You drink our meals. And a man died at 40 when he should. Anything asked that, past your prime, right? 40? What are you talking about? 30. Ripe old age of 30. I'm amusing myself today, don't mind me. What about the 60s? Yeah, the 60s. Yeah. Don't bathe, don't shower, don't shave. Lovely. Sign me up. Where can I sign? Women can't vote. Lovely. John Shinsky says, I am 30. Well, I hope you don't watch the movie Logan's Run. It's not good for you. Or read the book Catcher in the Rye. Hope you're not familiar with these two stories. Make you feel old. Gary, I am not going to read what you just typed. Do I look that dumb? You know what? Don't even answer that either. Alan says, what about the 60s? If you were in the 60s, then you don't remember the 60s. You guys are on fire today. All right, let me go back full screen here. So do you have any questions about the Trigkey? Is there anything you want me to check? We open it up, it's going to look exactly like the other Trigkey on the inside. It's exactly the same, just that the CPU and the components are at a higher level. Oh, am I getting a delivery again? I'll tell you what, it's been a day for deliveries today. I don't know why. Is my mailman putting something in my garage? I don't know what it is. There's nothing there. Why did my motion alert go off? Oh, it was the mailman. Okay, well, it can wait. It can wait. All right. Time is it? 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Oh, we got our mail early today. The sun's still up. USPS has not been good. Chris Johnson says, I've looked in settings and apps, and PBD files are not associated with any Microsoft software. I think you have a good idea to start using Acronis. Sue Cool 98 Lawrence wants to know, Carrie, If you wanted to change drives, what would be the best one for this Trigkey? Well, why would I be changing the drives? For me to be able to answer your question, I have to understand why you're doing what you're doing. What is it you're wanting to accomplish? When I have that information and I understand where it is you're trying to go, I'd be happy to give you the directions on how to get there. But asking me, how do I go to the store? I need to know, you're looking for a hardware store, a grocery store. What kind of a store are you looking for? Douglas Burchell with $2 in Super Chat says, thank you for all that you do and for turning me blue. All right. All right, Papa Smurf, you got it. Thank you for being an amazing member of this amazing community. We're lucky to have you. Sue Cool Lawrence says, just want it for music and such. Okay, so you just want to drive for storage. Why do you want the storage in the unit? That's not a good place for your storage. If I were going to add a storage drive, I would buy a USB drive and I would plug it in. And they're so inexpensive and you don't have to open the drive and risk damaging it or go through the migration or data transfer or cloning of the operating system. It's a hassle. And if I were you, I would get a USB drive. Now, here's the thing. You can get a 5 terabyte little tiny USB mechanical drive for like $100. And it's fine. If you want something faster, solid state drives, 2 terabyte solid state drive probably set you back about $100. The drive that's in here is just fine for what this is. So I would not, me personally, if you were my customer and you were paying me for a consultation, I would advise you to keep the data external and if possible, have 2 drives. And you want to make sure that one of those drives, that basically one drive is used as a backup. Whatever you're putting on one drive, you need to also put it on the other one. And so typically the way we do that is through something called file synchronization. And what we do is we say, okay, I want everything on this drive to match everything on that drive. One simple way to do it is simply to highlight everything, hit copy, and then hit paste, and copy it over. Another way is to just post a copy of it online to Google Drive, something like that. How much storage do you need? And how much money do you have to spend? Chris Johnson says Eiffel 65. Bada bee, bada boo. Oh, because I'm blue. Is that what it is? Dennis Paulson says, I'm going to use that M6 Mini as a media server to store my movies for watching on my TV. It's not going to hold many movies, but you could certainly, hook it to a NAS or to a USB drive and hold as many movies as you want. Richard Palmentier says, hey, that's what I found too, that PPD files aren't associated with any Windows file. You might want to go through the steps of recreating what you did there, Richard. You may not be remembering it correctly, or recreate the scenario so you can tell us how to replicate what you did. Matt Solov joins us from Sweden. He says, hello, Carrie and all. I'm only listening today. Okay, well, I'm not much to look at, so you're getting 98% of it by listening. Taranga 3086 says, I'm looking to buy an external enclosure for an SSD for backup and extra storage. I have a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A to plug it into. What SSD speed and capacity would you recommend? Well, how much do you have to spend and how much capacity do you need? SSDs are already in an enclosure. You don't need, if it's a 2.5-inch SATA SSD, it's already in an enclosure. You're not getting a raw circuit board. So putting your enclosure into an enclosure is only going to generate more heat. But if you want to do something like M.2, whatever the cheapest M.2 is you can get, because you're not going to get any performance through that USB port that's going to anywhere be close to the cheapest budget M.2 NVMe. Maybe the SATA drives, but even then, maybe not. So really just a question of what you can afford. Buy what you can afford. Steve H said I clone my drives every 2 months and store them off-site. So Steve understands in a worst case scenario, he will lose 2 months of his data. Murphy's Law, right? Andy Kane says hello. Hey, Andy. Some people don't want extra clutter of dangling USB. Well, then some people shouldn't have so much stuff. You know, I like to collect stuff, but I don't like clutter. Well, you're going to have to maybe not collect stuff or get used to clutter. I don't know. Or open up your wallet and buy a storage facility or add on to your house so you have room to avoid the clutter. It's nothing money can't solve, but you can't say, I don't want to spend the money and I don't like the clutter, but I still want to hoard everything. I don't know how well that attitude's going to win in your life, but okay. Not quite sure you're hearing yourself, but look at me trying to be reasonable. If somebody's unreasonable, I'm trying to be reasonable with them. It's kind of unreasonable of me to think that they'll understand reason, right? Then I'm the one who's being unreasonable. John Shisky says, collect and organize clutter is what I do. There you go. Gary Tatum joins in the crowd, repeating what's already been said. PDB files are backup files used by ASUS to do backup. Phil Hoffman says, hello, Carrie and everyone. Shane Perkins says what 4 other people before him says. I like how people mention things like it's never been said before, but we're just numerous. I like that it's not just me that's not being listened to. Maybe now you guys can see what it feels like. Is it possible, Richard, that you at some point you downloaded and used Ease Us backup software and you just don't remember it? Chris Johnson said, I heard a comedian once say that the essence of life is moving stuff from one place to another. George Carlin has a great routine. It's like 20 minutes long. It's called A Place for My Stuff, or A Place for Your Stuff. Back in the 70s, still rings true today. It's as true today as it was. You know, what's interesting to me, one of the things I learned through, it took a while to sink in, but it occurs to me that when you don't own much, it looks like you're a pretty clean, organized person. But the more stuff you collect and you start running out of room to put it, it looks like you might be a little insane and might need a little help. And maybe it's time to call in professionals to help the fire hazard that you live in. I'm one to talk. Studio B is a nightmare, and I really need to do something about it. I can only imagine the few people who have been inside Studio B, what they must say about me when they leave. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't know he was that bad. I don't know how much longer he's got before we're going to find him under a pile of computers, his dead carcass perfectly mummified, before anybody realizes a pile of computers collapsed on me 3 years ago and nobody's seen or heard from me since. My body is perfectly preserved. Sorry, I was getting a little dark. Bill Hoffman generously says, you know, I'm also a fellow tech and can also answer most questions. Thank you, Phil. I appreciate the help. Luke Greenia says, remember, folks, Acronis is running a free 30-day trial. I think they always run a free 30-day trial. That's normal business operation. Nothing to lose to try it out. And restores on Acronis are always free. Backups you got to pay for. I told Acronis they're nuts. It should be the other way around. They should encourage people to back up with Acronis, but when they want to restore, that's when you charge them. That would make more sense. But they said, no, we'd rather do it this way. It's your business. What do I know? Chris Garrett said, I switched to Macrium. Oh, all you got to do is watch Doug Betts and myself when Big Beast was here. And I said, okay, sell me on Macrium. And we went through it together. And you should go back and watch that. See all the flaws with Macrium, and it didn't work. But people will forgive the interface, the poor language, the poor design, and they'll find excuses to forgive that because they think they've convinced themselves this is a better product, even though it's twice the money as well. And I don't care, but I find it humorous that somebody will point out some minor thing with the competitor and make a big deal out of it. And in the meantime, the thing they're promoting has all kinds of flaws. It's overpriced. It doesn't work as well. And they go, well, that's okay because of this and because of that. So they go out of their way to make excuses for the thing that they're endorsing, even though they have no affiliation other than they gave this company their money. So maybe that's self-preservation because you don't want to admit maybe you spent too much on a product that's not as good. So you have to tell yourself this is better. Or maybe you honestly think it's better, but I want to like it. I do. I want to like Macaroni Refinery. And every time I use it, it's like it gets worse and more confusing. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And the price is outrageous, in my opinion. I'm just a professional computer technician with over 30 years of experience in the industry. So, what do I know? Doesn't matter. People pay me for my advice. You're getting it for free, so it's worthless. But, I don't have any financial gain or financial loss. I'm glad to hear you're using something to back up your data, but you'll never get me on board with that pile. Mm-mm. Have I seen comedian Matt Rife? Yeah, I don't like him. I don't think he's funny. I'll tell you who I just recently found. There's a comedian. His name is Charlie Berens, Berens. And he's from Wisconsin, don't you know? So he talks a little like this and says, you could put your cheese curds over there by the Davenport. It's hilarious. And he makes a lot of YouTube Shorts videos, which I initially saw as YouTube Shorts videos. And I went, hey, this YouTube content creator is pretty funny. I'd like to see more from him. And the first thing when I clicked on his channel is an 1.5-hour stand-up special. I went, oh, he's not a YouTube content creator. He's a professional comedian, and I've never heard of him before. And I couldn't stop watching. I was so impressed with him. But I'm from Michigan. So, don't you know? Tell your moms I said hi. Tell your mom I says hi. Go Packers. Anyway, I don't do the accent very well because in Michigan we don't really have that accent. But Wisconsin's right there. Minnesota's right there. Minnesota, don't you know? It's right there. And he has a lot of fun with the cultural language differences and how people within a certain region speak a certain way. And once you exceed or go outside of the region, nobody knows what you're talking about. Oh, when I want to drink water, I go over to the bubbler. You go to the what? You go to the bubbler. A bong? No, the bubbler, the drinking fountain. Put that by the Davenport. The what? The couch that pulls out to a bed. The couch. The Davenport. What are you, a moron? And of course, they're very polite, Ope. I do that all the time. Ope. It means oops. Oh. Oh, let me squeeze by you. Oh, let me squeeze right by you. No, you go. Very polite. Oh, watch out for the deer. I just turned Boston. Guy is hilarious. If you're from that part of the country or you know somebody from Wisconsin or Minnesota, then you understand the way he's talking. It's hilarious. Charlie Berens. Yeah, it's very funny. Don't you know? Yeah, Blackwatch's got it. Don Parada says he loves Charlie Berens. Genius. I just learned of this guy yesterday. A little late to the game. Alan says, Cary, Minnesota, my hand went up. Oh, don't you know? Yeah. Watch out for the deer. And then when you go to leave, you go, well, I suppose. Or, oh, I suppose. That's how you exit. That's how you say you're leaving. I suppose. I talked about that when I went back to Michigan a few years ago, in southern Michigan, in the kind of a farmland, and the people that live there. Two old guys are sitting on the porch. You know, and I'm witnessing this. Like, I don't know what's happening. They're just staring off into the distance. And one guy says, well, I suppose. And the other guy says, well, I suppose. And then they both got up and went two different ways. And the guy left and went home. And I was like, what just happened? I think they just said goodbye. I never heard anybody say goodbye like that. We don't talk that way in Detroit. It was pretty funny. When you hit a deer, you say, oops. No, no. No, that's a oofta. Yeah, that's not oop, that's oofta. Yeah. Pretty funny. Someone else recommended Charlie Reif to me, and I just didn't find him funny. I appreciate what he's doing. I like that he's, social media driven, not being driven by traditional stand-up approvals from places to be on stage. I can appreciate that take, but I didn't find any of his humor particularly funny. Just a lot of millennial kind of humor that it's just too soft. I like something a little edgier. If you could be a little offensive, I appreciate that. I think it takes guts to be a comedian today that, comedians were like in the 80s. It's just intended to make people laugh. It's not mean-spirited. I think it's sad that we live in a time now where people can't tell a difference and they lost any sense of judgment or any benefit of doubt. So when there are comedians that refuse to accept that, I honor and respect them because that's how it all started. And it'll probably all start again with Lenny Bruce getting arrested for the things that he said on stage. He got arrested for it over and over and over again. And because he did that, there was civil rioting about it that led to acts like George Carlin and Richard Pryor being able to be so foul-mouthed because it was, up until that point, illegal. And now we're making it illegal again, which will eventually come back around to a bunch of generation that grows up with that going, I should be able to speak my mind. And we'll just keep cycling as a society. We go backwards, we go forwards. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I see these cycles. The older I get, the more the cycles I see. And I go, oh, we're in that cycle now. I hope it comes around while I'm still alive, but I know it will. Chris Rock? Yeah, Chris Rock's funny. You at the club on a Tuesday? Is it your birthday? Who's watching your baby? I don't want him robbing me in 15 years. Get home and take care of that baby. Is it your birthday? You at the club on a Tuesday? Yeah, he's funny. Andrew Dice Clay is extraordinarily offensive, and I don't necessarily find him funny because it's almost like he's just being offensive. It's almost like he's just being foul-mouthed, and that is the humor. So he's an exception. But Sam Kinison, on the other hand, hilarious, classic. But Dice, yeah, I can't say I'm a fan of Dice. I just don't think it's just like he wants to be vulgar, and that's the joke. I don't think being vulgar is funny. But if there's vulgarity in the humor, it's sort of like an exclamation point of emotion you're putting into the story you're telling. And I really appreciate that. Imagine if Richard Pryor tried to do a stand-up, he'd never be allowed. That's not true. I think Dave Chappelle is our generation's equivalent to Richard Pryor, and he's certainly under a lot of scrutiny and taking a lot of crap for what he does, but he ain't stopping. I think if Richard Pryor were alive today, I'd say he would probably, if I had to guess, say the comedian most like him working today is likely Dave Chappelle. And I appreciate Dave Chappelle because he's going to tell you like it is. And anybody who misinterprets that to be intended as divisive or hateful is they're just not smart people. They're just poorly educated people. They weren't raised right, in my opinion. Snarky comedy, aka David Spade. I appreciate sarcasm. There's a comedian who's been around a long time, and he's extraordinarily sarcastic. And his name is Bob. Oh, come on, Carrie. Bob. I'm sure we can find it. No comedian's named Bob. Snarky, no, sarcastic Bob comedian. Bob Zaney. Bob Zaney from Chicago. Bob Zaney has been doing a routine for got to be 30, 40 years. This guy is funny. Funny, 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 funny. And the level of sarcasm is master Zen level. And you can look on YouTube and you can find comedy he did back in the 80s, the 90s, and even most recently this year. He's been at this job a long time. He is a well-oiled, well-honed craft. He is a master. Bob Zaney, Z-A-N-Y. If you've never heard of this guy and you like sarcasm, you've never seen this level of sarcasm. This guy is fantastic. Russell Peters. Russell Peters used to be funny. I don't think he's funny anymore. Jeff Dunham. Dunham's good. He's a little safe, you know, but I respect him. He's a master at his craft. Don Parada says Carlin was an actual genius, a linguist. His play on words, his intellect. But yeah, I agree. But you know who else was like that? Was Gallagher. Forget the whole smashing watermelons. If you search on YouTube Gallagher speaking about the English language, it's very similar to Carlin. There's some genius level of observation where you're like, oh, I never thought of it that way before, but he's got a point, kind of a thing. Gallagher was very, very good at that. Patrick Russett says, Bobcat Goldthwait is from my hometown of Syracuse, New York. Yeah, Bobcat I didn't think was funny. He was just an accident. Like, you couldn't turn away from looking at this tragedy. His delivery was like somebody that was drugged out of their mind and couldn't stitch together a sentence without struggle and mental trauma. Just trying to get a word out. And I couldn't look away, but I didn't laugh at any of it. I didn't think anything he said was funny. I will still watch it today in amazement because it's unlike anything. I've never seen a human behave like that. And I don't know, I couldn't even imitate that. I don't even know how you do that. He doesn't do that anymore. And he doesn't look the same anymore. And I still don't think he's funny. Robin Williams was good. So Robin Williams talked too fast. So does Dennis Miller. Sometimes I couldn't get the jokes because he's speaking too quickly and it's just going right by. It's too fast. Dennis Miller speaks fast and uses historical references and political references that are well above my educational level. So I think he's probably funny, but I don't know. I'd have to have somebody explain it to me. Billy Crystal. Billy Crystal's a classic for sure. Certainly back in the stand-up days. Steve Martin. Oh, Steve Martin was the Jim Carrey of his day. That dude was hilarious. Steve Martin would say, I'm going to give you 3 steps to being a millionaire. Step 1, get $1 million. And then, you know, the comedy dropped off. He got into acting and he's not really funny anymore. And he hasn't been funny for longer than he ever was funny. You know what I mean? Like, he was funny for this much time and he's been unfunny for this much time. Now he's sort of like Tim Allen. You know, Tim Allen was funny. Now it became sort of like soft, inoffensive. It's not laughter as much as it is like you know, that's cute. Kind of telling jokes. It's safe. It's too safe. Tim Conway. Tim Conway was hilarious because he had the faces. And, you know, and when you put him together with, gosh, they're both dead now. Tim Conway and, well, it sucks getting old. I'm sure somebody in the chat room is going to fill in the blank there. Harvey Korman, there it is. Thank you, Blackwatch. Yeah, Tim Conway and Harvey Korman played off of each other so well. They were each individually funny guys, but together, and then watching them try and crack each other up on the Carol Burnett show, that's something only true friends who know each other well would do to each other at live TV. Don Knotts, that was a guy with some funny faces, wasn't he? Not a stand-up comedian, though. Abbott and Costello. Yeah, well, you've got your classic comedy teams like Laurel and Hardy and Abbott and Costello. And yeah, I used to watch Abbott and Costello as a kid. I'd see their reruns on TV. Nick Poverman said B-Link offers the same version as the Trigkey at the same price. So how do you pick? How would you pick? Which one would you buy, Nick? And why would you choose one over the other? That's what I want to know. Taco says trains, planes, and automobiles was funny. Well, again, John Candy was a stand-up comedian. Steve Martin was a stand-up comedian. And they're both pretty fresh from their stand-up. And so I agree. That was probably the last Steve Martin movie, and quite honestly, the last John Candy movie I thought was funny. I didn't find any humor in Uncle Buck, that's for sure. I don't know what, or the bobsledding movie, I didn't find where that was funny. Sammy Davis Jr., yeah. Trailer Park Boys, I mean, I guess if this is the 90s, but are they still around? I was never really a big fan of Trailer Park Boys, but it's sketch comedy stuff. Chevy Chase, never found Chevy Chase to be funny. I don't know why people think he's funny. I don't find Fletch funny. I didn't find his stuff. Some of the stuff on Saturday Night Live was kind of funny. And he would do the news or, you know, point counterpoint with Jane Curtin and stuff like that. Although, was that Dan Aykroyd? Nonetheless, Bill Murray I didn't think is funny, and Chevy Chase, I never found humor in it. National Lampoon isn't funny because of Chevy Chase, in my opinion. It's funny because of everybody else. But he's considered a legend. You know, if I see him, I'd say hello and I'd be starstruck, but I'd sleep well. Like, I wouldn't feel like I met somebody I really admired, but I certainly respect him. Gabriel Iglesias, he's okay. I think he's a little overrated, but not my generation, I guess. Not my culture. Not big on making fun of fat people. Although, I mean, John Panette was a genius. John Candy was a big guy and sometimes made fun of his weight. And I guess I'm a bit of a hypocrite now that I think about it. Who was the other big guy who's not with us anymore? Louis Anderson. Talk about his weight a lot. I'm a little uncomfortable when someone's being self-deprecating about a health condition. Sometimes people can do it and get away with it. There's a guy named Josh Blue who has multiple sclerosis, and he's one of the funniest comedians. There's a person who's a little person, and his name is Brad Williams. Brad is the funniest comedian. Never mind his disability. It's not a disability. This guy, he's as capable as all of us. Just because he's shorter than what's considered normal, he is every much exactly the same as anybody else, and above and beyond an amazing sense of humor. If you've never seen Brad Williams, highly recommended. If you've never seen Josh Blue is hilarious. How about that dude, Mitch? He's a Toto fan. He's quite funny. Yeah, Mitch has done stand-up comedy. He hasn't done it in a while, but absolutely, for sure. Eddie Murphy? Oh my gosh, Eddie Murphy used to be so funny. Kind of went the way of Steve Martin. Norm Macdonald, again, a very sarcastic guy and very quick-minded. I don't think I've seen a comedian as fast as Norm Macdonald. He could just come up with a line in an ordinary conversation that was just like, I could have thought about that for hours and tried to write a line, and it just made it look so easy. There's a video of Norm Macdonald on Conan O'Brien, and Courtney Thorne-Smith is on it, and she's there to promote a movie. So Norm Macdonald was first out. Norm moves down the couch, a seat. Courtney Thorne-Smith sits down. She's there to promote a movie. And Conan's interviewing her, and he says, tell us about the movie. And she says, well, I'm in it with Carrot Top. And Norm Macdonald says, wait a minute, Carrot Top, the comedian, the prop comedian? who, by the way, I've seen him 3 times live. He's always funny, but people give him crap. I don't think it's deserved. So Norm Macdonald says, what's the movie called? Box Office Poison? And she goes, no, actually, the movie's called Chairman of the Board. And then Conan O'Brien goes, do something with that, Mr. Funny Man. And Norm Macdonald, without missing a beat, goes, yeah, they must spell bored, B-O-R-E-D. And I just thought, how could he couldn't have been prepared for that. It's just the way his brain worked. Hilarious. I'll tell you somebody else, Jeff Ross. Jeff Ross can offend you and come up with a quick-witted response. Robert Smigel, who does a lot of writing for Saturday Night Live, he did Triumph, the insult comic dog, was Robert Smigel. And he did a cartoon on Saturday Night Live called The Ambiguously Gay Duo, which was hilarious. Howie Mandel, Howie was one of my favorites. Howie could absolutely just go out on stage with no script and just ask people questions. And he was always hyper. He was always, what? Everybody's laughing, right? And he's like, what? And he would do this with his hands. He'd check his zipper because he didn't tell a joke. They're just laughing because he's acting weird. Now he's amused that everybody's laughing when he hasn't done anything, and he's looking around to see what they're laughing at, and he's confused. What? You, sir, what do you do for a living? Nothing. Nothing? How do you know when you're done? People laugh. He goes, let me ask you something. Is that a business your dad started and passed on to you? Like, hey, son, been doing nothing for 30 years. It's time you took on the family business. What do? Do you take big ads out in the paper with nothing in them? Like, he just kept riffing on this one guy. When's the busiest time of the year for nothing? He says, right after Christmas. He goes, all right, so right after Christmas, everything dies down, and then nothing. And then you're busier now. And you know that wasn't scripted. It wasn't planned. It's someone gets up to use the bathroom, and he's like, where are you going? It's a big audience. Where are you going? Going to the bathroom. Okay. And then person walks away out of sight. And Howie goes, okay, everybody move over to the next aisle. So when they come back, they won't know where their seat went. It'll be hilarious. Come on, everybody, get up and move. Oh, Howie was so funny. He's not so funny anymore. I enjoy watching him as a judge on America's Got Talent and Canada's Got Talent. He's got a great sense of humor, but he's lost that quick-wittedness. Well, actually, he still has it a little bit. Sometimes he has some pretty funny lines to the acts on America's Got Talent. Pretty smart. What about Don Rickles? So I don't understand Don Rickles. My dad liked him. That's a generation before me. I wouldn't pay money to have somebody insult me that way. Like those insults were they're a little too far. Little too far. I know he didn't mean anything by it, but boy, they were a little unrefined. Some of it came off a little, for me, still like a little, I don't think I'd pay money to have somebody talk to me like that. But my father sure did enjoy his work. Starshine said, I'm an old Laurel and Hardy fan. Those guys were the best. Laurel and Hardy? Yeah, there's a great movie about, it's called Stan and Ollie. Ollie and Stan. Great movie. Highly recommended. Late Show with Craig Ferguson was quick. Craig Ferguson is a funny, quick-witted individual for sure. Much respect to Craig Ferguson. Sadly, I didn't discover his show until about the last 6 months it was on, and I couldn't get enough of it. And I'm like, darn it, I missed. This was genius. Rodney Dangerfield, genius. Quick jokes. A girl came up to me after the show. She said, come on over. There's nobody home. I went over. There was nobody home. Hilarious. All right. Well, getting back onto the subject of computers, if we can reel this back in. Sometimes these live videos get off the rail. They get off the rails, and it's fun. It is fun, but you do have some work to do. Does anybody have any questions about the Trigkey unit, this computer in front of us? Anything you want to know? Maybe I can answer it. Maybe I can't. Matt Soloff said, have you mentioned Robin Williams? Yeah. Rowan Atkinson. Yeah, he's funny. Peter Sellers. Yeah. College Humor on YouTube. That's a funny channel for sure. Benny Hill was hilarious. You couldn't put that on TV anymore. Little Britain, what a great show that was. Can't put that on TV anymore. Bill Wickens says, I joined the Navy to ride the waves. Carrie, check your email. All right, well, it's been a while. Time to check the email. Now I sound like Strong Bad. Check the email. And the Lappy 386. Email. Oh, Bill Wickens sent an Amazon gift card of $50. He says, I hope you enjoy this Amazon gift card. Have a successful week. Well, thank you, Bill. Thank you for supporting the channel, my friend. He says, I don't know if I told you, but I moved here from Grand Rapids. I graduated from Wyoming Park High School and went right into the Navy. Didn't even collect his diploma. But we appreciate your service. And if you're from Grand Rapids, well, that explains why we have an instant connect. I have a weird instant connection with fellow Michiganders. I can't explain it. It's something you just feel it. And you must be from Michigan. It just something's clicking. See things the same. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. Thank you, Bill. Is it single or dual channel memory? It'll be dual channel, Michael. Dual channel. Is it worth it to be a doctor at 37, or should I get into cybersecurity? My state offers free community college for cybersecurity training and a career. Sir, I can't answer that for you because I don't know what you want to do. If you enjoy helping people, and you want to be around sick people, and you want to deal with all the malpractice insurance and insurance companies underpaying you, and it can be a very tough career, medical profession, at least here in the States. I don't know about in Canada. Cybersecurity, again, you're still helping people, but you don't necessarily need the malpractice insurance and 6 years of training. I don't know. I mean, I guess at 37, you're still young. You're still young to do whatever you want to do, man. Whatever you want. Whatever would bring you the most fulfillment is what you should do. Unless you're just after it for the money. In which case, I'm not the person to ask, because I don't work for money. I work because I enjoy the work. I need the money so I can pay my bills, but I'm not chasing the money. I'm chasing the work. Cheech and Chong were pretty funny. I enjoyed the heck out of them. Yeah, Monty Python. You can't leave them out. Mentioning all male comedians. Has anybody noticed that? There's a lot of funny female comedians. I just saw the special that Sarah Silverman did. It was pretty funny. Amy Schumer also just did her special. Rita Rudner used to be so funny. Is she still even working? And Kathy Griffin used to be hilarious. And Joan Rivers. And Roseanne Barr was, oh my gosh, if you look at her stand up on the Tonight Show, oh, she was so funny. Judy Tenuta, Paula Poundstone. Isn't it interesting we left out all the female comedians? That doesn't seem right. Carol Barnett. Oh, well, look, if you want to go all the way back, you could say Lucille Ball, but that wasn't exactly stand-up comedy. It's interesting watching all you guys repeat what I've already said because of the delay in the video. Oh, Rosie O'Donnell. There's one I forgot. Yeah, I was a fan of Rosie O'Donnell. I enjoyed her comedy. Once again, Gary, not repeating your comments in the chat room. I know you mean them in humor, but, you know, playing with fire in today's day and age. Lily Tomlin. Lily Tomlin's hilarious. She's still funny today, by the way. Lily Tomlin's like, I went to the store and I bought a little trash can. And then when I paid for it, they put the little trash can in a bag. Then I got home and I took the bag and the receipt and put them in the trash can. Yeah, she was really funny. Christopher Titus, he's one of my favorites. Sometimes he's way off base, but he gets too political sometimes. But, you know, when he talks about his upbringing and he talks about what's going on in his mind, yeah, he's a funny guy. I'd like to see him live someday. Eddie Izzard, he's okay. You got your British comedians like Jimmy Carr and Michael McIntyre, pretty funny. Red Skelton, I mean, that's a little before my time, but I remember Red Skelton. I always used to confuse Red Skelton and Red Buttons. For some reason, I always mix those two guys up. No, Tracy Ullman, yeah. Any other questions about the Trigkey? I'm gonna try and get us back on track, guys. Any other questions about this computer? Anything on your mind you want to know? Going to be weird to have a review on this computer and have people watching it a year from now going, what the heck is going on here? And they won't be wrong. Unless I cut all this out and re-upload it over to the other channel, it'll be 12 minutes long. Art Gaines says Lee Evans. I don't know who that is. Michael Mariello's been a member now for 1 month. Hey, thank you, Michael. Thanks for becoming a member, staying a member here at the channel and supporting what we're doing. Dame Edna, yeah, Dame Edna was funny. All right, can we talk about the computer? Can we do that? How many more mini PCs are you planning to do? All of them. If there's mini PCs out there from a manufacturer that I've not reviewed, I intend to get it and review it, even if I have to go to AliExpress and buy it there. Intel NUCs, plenty of new models I haven't reviewed. There's companies that make mini PCs who I haven't reviewed, like Ctone and Blackview, Paladin. There's a few others. So I intend to review each and every, at least one model from each manufacturer. I don't know how this is going to stand the test of time, so I'd like to record it where we can, but I'm not just doing that. I still have networking videos coming up and I have other product reviews coming up. But I tend to do things, if you've noticed, if you're paying attention, I might do a week of mini PC reviews and then a week of anything but mini PC reviews, and then a week of mini PC reviews, and then a week of anything but. You might ask, well, why? Well, fair question. One reason is because of the fad of mini PCs. Many people still don't know how capable they are. Still trying to spread the word that these are something worth considering. They are not the little crap boxes they used to be. They've come a long way, and in many cases are probably better than the computer you're using right now. Number one. Number two, the price has become extraordinarily affordable. The Intel NUC series is an expensive series even today, but they're very cleverly engineered pieces of equipment. Say what you will about Intel if you don't like them, but I will tell you that the amount of thought and engineering development that goes into an Intel NUC of varying designs is unlike anything. It's industry leading in its design. They never have overheating problems. They're solid as a rock, and they do cost a bit more. But these other brands, you can save a lot of money and still get pretty much the same level of reliability as they're just stealing from Intel, is what the gist of it is. Now, the other issue is the cost of doing these videos. It's something I talked about right at the beginning. Unless you just want me to come out here and talk to you, which costs me nothing, I got a feeling that you're not quite understanding the amount of money it takes to put equipment on this bench to make one video that's going to earn me $26. And to do that day after day after day, well, it's not uncommon that I have spent over $10,000. Well, I suppose it is a little uncommon. There have been times where I have spent over $10,000 in 30 days to make the content for my viewers, and in return, I got paid $3,500, maybe $4,000. And you can't help but think that, well, you know, over time, those videos will generate money, but they don't. They do, but they don't. They're going to generate the most amount of views in the first 2 weeks. And then they just kind of go into hibernation and they get a viewer here or there, but it doesn't add up to anything. And maybe if you're lucky, something trends and it just happens you did a video 4 years ago. Like my Scamming the Scammers video wasn't very well viewed for 4 years. And then all of a sudden became one of my highest earning videos for 6 months. One of my most viewed videos, but it should have done that the day I released it. In my opinion, I knew when I made it, that was a clever video. It was good. It was unique. Nobody else had done it, but I didn't have the marketing and search engine optimization to get people aware of it. And so it became a cultural fad and other people started doing it. And maybe those other people were inspired by me. I don't like to hope so. And they're doing it way better than I ever did it, by the way, too. But that's all they do. They just scam scammers all day. I'm glad they're out there doing it. Fully support it. I hope maybe they saw my video and said, I want to do that. That's a funny idea. But that's pretty rare. That doesn't happen very often. So you don't know what people are going to click on tomorrow. So at the end of it, it's like, okay, well, how do you make any money at this? It's costing me money to make these videos, and the money is being offset through your contributions and through my business is financing this. And I'm slowing my business down because the YouTube revenue was growing. And then right around mid-pandemic, it fell. And it's now half of what it was 3 or 4 years ago. So even though the channel is growing and the amount of content that I have to choose from, my library is massive and I should be making a lot of money in residuals just from search engines, you know, pointing to my content, since I have so much that could potentially show up on a search regarding computers, technology, networking, etc. The amount YouTube is paying now has been cut in half. So I need twice as many views just to be where I was 4 years ago. So I used to say you needed 1,000 videos to live off the royalties, but now you need about 4,000 videos to live off the royalties. And maybe that's not even enough now. And I can't make 4,000 videos in 15 years. I mean, you'd need a team of people. You'd have to have a massive investor, and you'd have to still give no guarantee without taking on sponsorships where I'm sitting here telling you about, you know, some in-product placement ad or some pre-roll ad for something ridiculous and stupid that I just refuse to do. So I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to finances, because there are many of companies that have offered me money to sit here and talk to you about completely unrelated things to tech, and things I don't use myself, things I would never use myself, including some tech companies I would never recommend, but they're offering me money so that I could tell you, you should go and buy their service. And many other creators I know that do this say, hey, just because this is what they tell themselves and this is what they tell me, because I ask them, how do you sleep at night? You know, I'm not forcing anybody to buy anything. Just because it's an advertisement doesn't mean it's anything I use or promote. I go, yes, it's exactly what you're doing. You are promoting it. You are giving it your approval and people trust you. No, that's them. I never said that. Look, if somebody comes to that conclusion, that's not my responsibility. I sleep just fine at night. I'm not separating them for their money. I don't feel any liability if I promote a product and they choose to buy it and that product is a complete ripoff. That has nothing to do with me. I go, the hell it doesn't. It suggests you have no integrity and you don't care about your viewers. No, it doesn't, Carrie. You're out of your mind. All I'm doing is what everybody else is doing. Like, no, man, I don't do that. I'm not doing it. No. And like, that's fine. Now, excuse me, while I go and enjoy my steak dinner, you enjoy your box of Cheez-Its. Which one of us is, which one's the better way? Alan Lindos with $7.77. He says, okay, here's my fee again. Martin Hogg contributes £4.99. Thank you, Martin. Cheers. Martin joins us from Scotland. No, I'm not out here panhandling. I'm just telling you, I'm answering a question. Why the mini PCs? So it's a multi-factor answer. One is, many of the mini PCs are sent to me for free to review, and I'm genuinely interested in them. And I think most people still aren't aware of how capable and affordable they are to be considered when it's time for a new PC. So I think I'm doing my part to raise awareness. Number two, it's inexpensive for me to make that content if the product's being sent to me. But they won't send me all the products I want, so I'm still buying them. But at least buying this is cheaper than buying Big Beast build, and it's a lot less work. I'm not dealing with any RGB, liquid cooling, cable management. I hate that stuff. And so this is much, much more my style. It's a good value. I would buy it myself. I recommend it to my clients in real life. I've used them myself. I've had that Intel NUC since 2013 when I first used it. No regrets. I just love it more and more and more. So if it's that good for me, then, you know, if you have never tried one, it's never been a better time. The amount of power they're packing into these boxes, these are truly desktop replacements now. There's no reason for most people to buy a desktop unless you're a gamer or you have some justification for massive amounts of storage or server purposes, or I don't know. But for the bulk of majority of computer owners, go into Best Buy and buying those pre-built HPs and Dells, you'd be way better off with one of these for about the same amount of money. And you don't have to go anywhere to buy it. You just click, and it's right at your door. And if you buy it from Amazon, and I know I sound like a salesman here, but I'm just telling you, this is the logic. If you buy it from Amazon and you don't like it, you don't have to feel like I misled you or I ripped you off. You could just easily return it to Amazon with no restrictions, for no reason. No reasons necessary, and you don't even have to pay for the return, and there's no restocking fee as long as, you know, you make sure that you're buying from an Amazon Prime product. If it's not Prime, you better read the details because you might have to pay for the return. Return could be denied if your reason isn't, you know, because it's broken. If you buy Amazon and it's Amazon Prime approved, it's a peace of mind that you can send that back anytime you want. Well, you can send it back within 30 days for any reason you want. Just change my mind. Good enough. Send it back, you get a full refund within 30 days. You don't even have to pay for the return shipping. In some cases, you don't even have to box it. You just put it back in its own box, but you don't have to, you know, pack it. Just take it to your local UPS or Whole Foods or Kohl's. And what they do is they put it in a little bag with a sticker on it with your name or your code. And that gets into a big pallet, gets picked up by a truck, and it all goes to Amazon. And it's cheaper for Amazon that way. It's less waste. You don't have to pack it and address it, find a box. No, it's super easy. It's nothing to it. So I'm saying, if you've never tried one of these mini PCs and it's time to replace, you know, if you're the typical user with one of these pre-built boxes, or maybe you built your own a couple of years ago and now you're thinking of upgrading it. It's pretty cool stuff here. You know, if you look at Amazon, I just want to show you something here real quick. Let's go over to Amazon. I want to show you something here. Oh, that's not Amazon. That's the desktop. That's Amazon. Check this out. Blow your mind. So Intel's latest NUC, they make NUCs in all different shapes and sizes. There's square boxes, these long boxes. I want to show you the latest Intel NUC. And I want you to really understand what you're getting for your money here. This is $2,000, but this is an Intel 13th Gen Core i9 13900K 24 core processor. This one has 128 gigs 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs SATA drive, Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.2. I know that's not 3.2. 5.3, that's what it is. 2 Thunderbolt ports. This is insanity. You can put a video card in here, full length 12-inch, 3-slot wide graphics card in here. It fits upside down inside of the case. You've got a machine that's probably more powerful than 98% of the computers of the people watching this video. And I mean, leave you in the dust, and it's a fraction of the size, makes none of the noise, and you don't have to build it yourself. You can get it bare bones. You can even go so far as spending $6,000 on one of these if you want it well equipped, 64 gigs of RAM, 2 8-terabyte solid state drives, and a RAID 1 array. And it's something that you can pick up easily and move around. It's nothing. So bare bones, you could find one of these. Yeah, see how the graphics card 3 slots wide fits in there? 750 watt modular power supply. You could find one of these for, well, here's what's funny. Let me show you something that cracks me up. If you go to AliExpress, right? Let's see if we can find one cheaper. Oh, you want to find one cheaper, buy it from China. Okay, not anymore. It's actually going to cost you more at AliExpress. You type in Intel Extreme 13. That should pull it up. What's the cheapest one we can find? Well, those are motherboards. I need to put the word Nook in here. Nook, Nook, Nook. I'm not pulling up anything. Maybe AliExpress search is not that good. Intel Nook 13 Extreme? Maybe just change the... Yeah, there's a Nook right down here. That's an older one. An Extreme 9. Oh, let's just call it Nook 13. Let's just do that. That ought to pull it up. Well, those are little 13s. I want the big 13. Well, clearly this isn't working for me. Let's go back over to Amazon for a second. Let's go about this a more intelligent way than I'm doing. Let's type in Intel Nook 13 Extreme. Paul M contributes $10. He says, thanks for answering my email, Carrie. Well, thank you, Paul. Thanks for supporting the channel. This has a built-in graphics card, RTX 2060, in this little tiny thing. $1,000. You'd be hard pressed to be able to buy it for that much, build it for that much money. Okay, here's a desktop kit. All right, let's see if we can find one of these bare bones. Have a model number? No, we don't. Hold on. Hold on. Get a way to find. Oh, $1,900. Okay. No bare bones here either. This is a Nook 13, but it's an i5, so that's why it's cheaper. Here's the 13900K. Once again, their style of Nook here. That's a Nook 12. That's a completely different design. Pretty darn cool, if you ask me. Yeah, you could fit a full-size 2-slot wide graphics card in that one. 12 inches. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time. Looking for a model number. Let's try it this way. Intel Nook 13 Extreme. Bare bones. And let's hit the shopping tab. What do we got? Used for $1,300. Ooh. I think this is it. CDW's got it for $1,600. If you put your own RAM in storage, you can get it as cheap as $1,600. Oh wait, $1,299. I suspect that is not going to be the i9. That's probably an i7 or an i5. This was the number I was looking at. So the 1.5 in there, I think that's the i5. Yep, that's exactly, it's a Core i5. I don't want the Core i5. So that's cheap. Anyway, when you look this up on AliExpress, I'm just going to tell you, and you can just believe me or not. I was going to prove it in video, but wasn't prepared for this discussion. It's almost $200 more to buy it from AliExpress than it is to buy it from Newegg. And Newegg sells it on eBay. About $1,600. You put your own DDR5 in there. It's not Gen 5 SSD. It is Gen 5 PCIe, but not SSD. That one NUC Extreme 12 will hold 4 M.2 drives, 2 Gen 4s and 2 Gen 3s. The new NUC 13 will hold 3 M.2 drives, but I think all 3 are Gen 4, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe we'll get a bunch of NUCs in here and we'll do like a NUC review, because these machines are amazing and probably better than anything you can build. They do cost a bit more at that level, but there are no heat issues with them, no noise issues with them, there's no issues. They're just super well-engineered boxes, and they'll last you for decades. And I'm just thinking to myself, I saw how amazing the Core i5 13500 is with Core Cyber Director from Power Director. Cyberlink is the name of the company. Power Director is the name of the software. I use it to upscale my videos. When these videos are over, I'll upscale the 1080 recorded version to 4K and post it over to my Mini PC Reviews channel. Now, upscaling a 1080 video to 4K on my 8th generation Dell XPS will take approximately 4 seconds for every 1 second of video. So if I'm going to process a 2-hour video, now you better pack a sandwich. And then when you get up to a Core i9 9900K, this will do it. It'll upscale. If it's a 2-hour video, it'll take about 2 hours. It's pretty good, maybe a little bit more. With a Core i5 13500 processor, not the K, not using any special cooling. Throw a Power Director on it with the built-in GPU on the Intel processor. It renders and upscales a 1080 video into 4K in like 40 minutes. Okay, so if a 13500 can render my videos without an expensive graphics card. In fact, when I tell Power Director to use the graphics card, it's actually slower. So don't use the graphics card. It's way better tuned to the CPU graphics. So what would a 13900 do? And if it's portable, and I can set it on the counter here instead of copying the files, walking them to the other room, because there's 2 separate networks here. That would be beneficial as an investment to my channel, especially if I want to pursue putting more stuff on the Mini PC Review channels. Everything there is in 4K. So the 13500 has made that so easy to do, but I have to walk across the building and plug it into a different computer, render the file out. It's like 30 gigs, copy it back, put it back on here to use this internet connection, send it back up. Or I suppose I could run a really long cable, but no. So probably going to see that included in Mini PCs, because it's still a Mini PC. It's just a little bigger. We've got half an hour to answer this question. Docker says Mini PCs are killing PC building. Full-size PC components will just become more expensive as less and less people build their own. What's wrong with that? See a problem with that? If the market decides, then the market is right. Gary is using the sneaker net. That's right, Sarge Tech, and that's exactly what I refer to it when I talk about it. As a PC technician and as somebody who's built tens of thousands, literally, of computers, I welcome evolution, and I welcome change as long as the change isn't sacrificing anything. People will always be able to build computers. That's not going away anytime soon. They've never been able to build laptops. I mean, within reason, you could sort of put a frame and everything that's already predefined, what kind of battery you're going to get, what size screen you're going to get. You couldn't actually do all of it. You know what I mean? It's just not practical. So if we can improve the computing experience, reduce the amount of size, reduce the amount of power, and we no longer need to build it. I mean, are you sad that we don't have to make horseshoes anymore? Because that's what it's going to start sounding like. There will always be people who want to build computers, and perhaps that market won't have as much selection, and as a result, prices will be a little higher. But if it means that much to you, you'll find the money to do it, right? That's all that matters. If you can't afford to do it, you're just paying more to work, which is kind of weird, but that's not going away anytime soon. But I do believe that we're going to see more and more mini PCs as they become so capable and so affordable. It doesn't make sense to have these big boxes, to do what we've always done simply because we've always done it. Open your eyes, embrace evolution is what I'd suggest. You're not going to win that fight if you resist it. You're just going to be this lone person left behind. They will leave you behind. So if you don't mind that, then stay behind. But as a business owner, this is a change I like. I like it very much. I can move these much easier in my car as I'm getting older. Computers are getting heavier, not anymore. Now they're much lighter, much more portable, much less prone to damage. They don't take up as much room. They don't collect as much dust. They don't make as much noise. There's no concern of liquid cooling, RGB lighting, or overclocking for the most part. All of that goes away. Thank God. Everybody has a better experience overall. Everybody pays less. Everybody has a more reliable computer that takes up less room and uses less power, generates less heat. I can't imagine how anybody could see anything negative about it. I really can't. Al Hejtepej posts a link there to Newegg for the Nook Extreme. I think that's probably going to be $1,647. I don't think you're going to find it cheaper than that. So if you look at so it's called a Nook 13R. Let me back to that. Now that I have a model number, let me show you something here. B&H photo, and let's go to AliExpress. Now that we have a model number, let's type that model number. NUC13 RNGI. Look how much they want for the same box on AliExpress. That's the cheap one. This one is a different model. This is equipped differently. But this one right here, this is the exact same one that Newegg is offering, exact in every way, except you're going to have to wait almost a month to receive it in the mail. They want $1,881.74. Okay, now let's go to Newegg or eBay, because Newegg sells on eBay. Let's type in NUC13R NGI9. Okay. $1,647 is the exact same model of computer, spec'd exactly the same way, shipped locally from the United States to the United States. You'll have it in just a couple of days. No waiting on customs, no waiting on having this thing shipped via, however they get it here. And you save almost, what, $250 or $220? So you'll spend more to get it at AliExpress. Look at that, same exact thing. See, AliExpress is not this automatically going to be cheaper place. I want you to be aware of that. They're aware that some Americans think, I'm going to go to AliExpress to save money. And then the Americans don't go and compare it to what's local. And then the Americans, because we're dumb Americans, because that's what they'll say, will pay more for it because it's coming from AliExpress. under the assumption that that's cheaper when they really don't know. It's just an assumption. What are you going to do? You're going to get ripped off? Be ripped off. I don't mind. There are some things that are cheaper on AliExpress, but not everything is. It's like when you go to Costco. Some stuff is cheaper at Walmart than you can get it at Costco. I think we all know this, or Sam's Club. AliExpress used to be a place to go for deals. And AliExpress realized we could get a lot more money from the Americans. We're leaving money on the table. And now they're charging way more than they used to. And it doesn't have the same benefits it used to have, in my opinion. So if you're going to buy anything at AliExpress, you're going to have to wait 3 or 4 weeks for it to arrive and you have no real warranty. And my recommendation is make sure before you buy it that you can't get it locally from a reputable seller like Newegg, BH Photo. Camera Girl has arrived. Hello. And you just might even find it cheaper on eBay. And the seller on eBay just happens to be Newegg. Same price, by the way. But eBay has financing options that Newegg doesn't necessarily have. So you might be able to get it on PayPal, 0% interest for 6 months. Suddenly it doesn't seem so bad. Pay a couple $100 a month, have that bad boy paid off, no interest, and have it today. I'm going to get that with AliExpress. So thank you for the link. That was the point I've been trying to make. So you helped me on that, and I appreciate it. Jim KG3N says Americans are dumb and I was born here. Sad. We have a reputation for a reason. But hey, you're watching my channel and that makes you smarter than most. That's the dumbest thing I've ever said. But he says, hi, Camera Girl. Hello. All right, well, we're just a little after 3 o'clock, a little over 2 hours on this with about 30 minutes of actual review time. But hey, it's enjoyable hanging out with you guys. You know, you can get your typical reviews anywhere. Anybody can do that. Stereotypical, scripted, polished, edited. Yeah, this is real interaction. People being people. And you don't see this very often on YouTube. I'd like to see that change too. I'd like to see a return to more community-driven videos, less scripted, commercialized videos. But you know what they say about wishing. Thank you guys for all the super chat contributions. Thank you, Frankie B, for that very generous contribution earlier. I'll shout out everybody again here. Paul M, Martin Hogg, Alan Lindas, Michael Mariello, thank you for extending your membership. Douglas Burschel, thank you for your Amazon gift card and contribution. Don Parada and Rick Lakes, Larry G and John Science Rocks. OG Gaming has become a new member. Right on. Thanks for joining us, OG Gaming. Alan Ronald and Nick Poverman, as well as John Shinsky and Sarge Tech and Steve H. Of course, our good friend Buster, all the way out there in Scotland. Thank you for your continued support and generosity as always. And were there any gift cards I'm forgetting? I feel terrible when I forget people. My friend Kelly Stewart, my friend Mark Gaines, always shouts out to them. My friend John Jack Wilson. Again, thank you to Bill Wickens for the Amazon gift card and Barry Klein. I forgot Barry Klein. Sometimes people submit between the shows and then I save their emails so I mention it and then I feel terrible when I forget. I hope you don't take it personally, whoever that was. I think Jeremy the Red had contributed as well. So earlier yesterday. So thank you again for that. Without you guys, I just don't have the content. So it'd just be an old man talking. we might get there, but I'd like to postpone that as much as possible and keep this involved in tech, at least in my wheelhouse, from computers that everyday people use, not the niche stuff, and then, you know, basic networking stuff, basic network attached storage. I don't want to get into this enthusiast level. That's all saturated online. So we really want just the practical, pragmatic information. That's where I think the internet is lacking severely, is in, you know, regular information for regular people. Enthusiasts are enthusiastic, and so they make a lot of content for other enthusiasts, and it would leave a novice or a noob to think that that's all pragmatic and practical. None of it. Rarely is it ever. So do know there's a difference in the type of content that's out there, and boy, I'd like to see more practical stuff out there. But I guess that's what drives me to keep doing it. As for the Trigkey unit, well, you know, look, I like it. I do. I knew I was going to like it when I ordered it. I saw those specs. I said, that's a decent computer. It's not a rocket, and it's also not a budget. It's right down that middle, and it's very affordable. It's not much more than a budget system. If I was going to buy one for normal everyday use, that's the one I would buy. Because I'm a content creator, it's a little lacking on what I need, right? So I'd probably look at a $2,000 computer for my needs, but what I do isn't what you do, likely. I guess if you're a content creator, you'll see the value in that Nook Extreme 13 and how small it is and how capable, oh my gosh, and quiet and expandable, oh my gosh. And I would much rather have that than build one. I would much rather have that Nook than have that machine right there. I don't want to do all that work. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I do every day for the last 30 some odd years. You think I want to do more of it? But that's the only way I know I can get a good build, is to build it myself. But I don't feel that way now on these mini PCs, because otherwise your good builds were extraordinarily expensive. Like, forget how much I said the Nook was. That's nothing compared to buying from a boutique builder like Falcon Northwest, or, oh, who's another one? Skytech can be really expensive and even unreliable and inconsistent. Or Alienware. Holy cow, Alienware, so expensive. You'd be way cheaper to build it yourself. But the Nook isn't something I can build, and I'll pay a little bit more for it if I'm going to get all that performance and all that quietness and all that ease of use and portability. Worth it. And I don't have to put it together, and I don't have to cable manage it. Sign me up. I got to get one. Shopping. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you all again tomorrow. Every Friday, we do a live show at 1 o'clock Pacific time. Hope you will join me every single Friday. It's a live show. What am I doing tomorrow? I like to do something expensive on Friday shows, something a little over the top. What am I doing? I don't know. Friday shows are usually my most expensive shows. I'll find something. And then get into some networking stuff next week. Take a little break from the mini PCs, maybe. And then the week after that, we're going to dive back into mini PCs again. So I'm not going to just be a one-trick pony. We're going to have a lot of variety here. Thank you so much. And if you're a member, do know that every single Monday at 1 o'clock, there are members-only videos. Only members can watch them, and only members can participate in the chat, because I want to hang out with you guys who make it possible for me to do this. I want to make time specifically for you guys, because you guys make it possible for me to make time for everybody else. Thank you for that. I will see you all again tomorrow at 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. I hope you'll join me. Until then, bye for now.